Welcome to U.S. Immigration. State Department aims to ease visa backlog as U.S. travel opens up following President Biden's executive order. State Department provided valuable answers for many questions regarding U.S. Consulates operations abroad.
We would add that the new proclamation, unlike the previous proclamations, does not restrict the adjudication of visas overseas at our embassies and consulates. We continue to work very hard to find ways to safely and efficiently process visa applications around the world in a manner that's consistent with science and public health. We're committed to reducing these visa backlogs as quickly and safely as possible.
The U.S. will expand visa processing efforts to accommodate an expected spike in applications under a new policy that loosens restrictions on vaccinated travelers. We will also discuss about which category of visa is being prioritized, along with review of worldwide operating status of U.S. consulates.
We are taking 3 key steps to address the situation. First, we prioritize the processing of immigrant visas at every post. As there is capacity, these will be the first visas adjudicated. Among those, we will continue to prioritize the processing of immigrant visas for spouses and children of U.S. citizens, including fiancé visas. Finally, we're committed to transparently sharing the current status of our worldwide visa operations with you.
We will also discuss about how U.S. can support for legitimate unvaccinated travelers. If you are interested in these topics, please stick around till the end of this video. For your immigration news and updates, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Do not forget to hit that notification bell. Let's get into the video. Visa delays mounted throughout the pandemic as consulates closed and workers stayed home, creating a backlog that could be worsened if a surge of people seek U.S. visa at embassies and consulates to visit the U.S. under the new policy. Douglas Benning, the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary at the State Department's Bureau of Consular Affairs, said the coronavirus led to a profound reduction in visa processing. We are committed to addressing that. We are taking a look at a variety of means to safely increase our capacity, Benning said on a call with reporters. We will start with Douglas Benning's interview.
Thank you so much for joining us today. As mentioned, I'm Douglas Benning, the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary in the Bureau of Consular Affairs. I'm very happy to be with you today to explain in a bit more detail the upcoming changes for foreign travelers to the United States. So first, I want to reiterate what others have already said. This new policy is based on public health principles. It's consistent and it's very stringent. The goal is the protection of everyone's health and safety, whether they live here in the United States or whether they are traveling here to visit us. So as of November the 8th, non-immigrant foreign national air travelers to the United States will be required to be fully vaccinated and to provide proof of vaccination status prior to boarding an airplane to the United States. This replaces the previous presidential proclamations that limited travel from specific countries. The proclamation issued yesterday applies to all foreign national non-immigrant air travelers, making it more consistent. So we've updated the policy, but our commitment to combating the pandemic remains the same. Our message to potential travelers is be fully vaccinated before you travel, get a COVID test before arriving here, comply with all public health measures, including masking and social distancing, and make sure you understand the new requirements before making travel plans. Because we're prioritizing public health, exceptions to this policy will be extremely limited to include children and certain individuals from countries where vaccines are not yet readily accessible. There have also been updates to the existing testing requirements for boarding a plane come to the United States. For those who are vaccinated, the testing requirement remains at 3 days before their flight. And for the rare foreign traveler who is eligible to travel but not yet vaccinated, that person will need to provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test within 1 day before the flight's departure. We know that the resumption of international travel for countries affected by the previous presidential proclamations has been highly anticipated. We want to make sure that those who are making plans to visit us are fully informed about the new requirements. So please make sure everybody visits travel.state.gov and cdc.gov to understand the new requirements and make sure you're ready to meet them so that you can have a safe and smooth trip. We would add that the new proclamation, unlike the previous proclamations, does not restrict the adjudication of visas overseas at our embassies and consulates. Also, I want to note that the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in, of course, profound reductions in the department's visa processing capacity. We continue to work very hard to find ways to safely and efficiently process visa applications around the world in a manner that's consistent consistent with science and public health. We're committed to reducing these visa backlogs as quickly and safely as possible. Thanks very much, and again, apologies for the interruption.
A similar update has been provided earlier by Julie M. Stuff, Acting Deputy Assistant Secretary for Visa Services, Consular Affairs. She provided updates on U.S. immigrant visa processing at embassies and consulates.
It's really a pleasure to come here today to speak to you about the State Department's efforts to process immigrant visa cases during this challenging period. I also want to share how we're working on reducing the current backlog of these cases. We're working under 3 guiding principles as we address the backlog of immigrant visa cases. First, we want to acknowledge the stress and hardships borne by petitioners and applicants due to reduced capacity to adjudicate visas during the pandemic, various restrictions on visa issuance, and COVID-related limitations on everyone's travel. We know this is difficult, and we're striving to provide the best possible service while doing so safely. Which leads me to my next point. The health and safety of our personnel and our clients coming into our consular sections abroad continue to be our highest priority and the department's highest priority during the pandemic. Finally, I'm sure you're aware of President Biden's initial actions on immigration, in particular Executive Order 14012 on restoring faith in our legal immigration systems. I want to reiterate our commitment at the Department of State to resolve backlogs and process visas as quickly and efficiently as we can while remaining committed to the national security of the United States. So let's turn to the current situation. I'm sure you saw the announcement of the rescission of presidential proclamation, which means there's no general restriction existing on issuing immigrant visas.
She also reiterated the visa prioritization update in U.S. consulates and important tips for applicants.
We are taking 3 key steps to address the situation. First, we prioritize the processing of immigrant visas at every post. As there is capacity, these will be the first visas adjudicated. Among those, we will continue to prioritize the processing of immigrant visas for spouses and children of U.S. citizens, including fiancé visas not subject to regional restrictions. As I said at the start, we recognize the stress and hardship on these families. Second, we are constantly seeking creative ways to increase the number of immigrant visa appointments we can safely offer. We generally must conduct immigrant visa interviews in person, and we are also required to collect biometrics from our applicants. Given that our physical spaces overseas are so different, many of these creative solutions are context specific. One embassy has outfitted alternate spaces within the embassy complex to create physically distanced workspaces to process more applications. Other embassies and consulates are cross-training personnel so that more staff can process immigrant visa applications. As we collect and share these best practices, we will find new ways to serve as many applicants as we can safely. Finally, we're committed to transparently sharing the current status of our worldwide visa operations with you. Our priority in the visa office is reducing this backlog, all the while ensuring the safety of our staff and applicants and protecting our national security. We will be transparent about our progress. One caveat, I can't promise you that the numbers will decline month to month. So many factors influence the number of appointments we can safely allot, especially the progression of the pandemic in different countries. We expect this effort to take time. There are 3 things immigrant visa applicants should keep in mind while they're going through this process. First, the fastest and easiest way for you to get the information you need is to regularly check the website of your closest U.S. embassy or consulate. That is where the most up-to-date information about operations will always be, as well as information about the best way to get in touch with the embassy or consulate. Second, please ensure the email address that we have on file for you is accurate. That's where we will always send instructions. If you do have a question and need to contact your nearest U.S. embassy or consulate, please do so only once. Include your case number so that we can find your case more efficiently. While we are always open to answer your questions, multiple phone calls or emails about the same issue will slow down the process for everyone. Finally, please come to your appointments prepared with the documents outlined on your appointment letter. Just like with communications, using multiple appointments to present more information will slow down your visa processing as well as others. Again, we're looking to serve as many people as we safely can, and we're grateful for your patience.
Let's get into the next topic. U.S. will be facilitating travel support for legitimate unvaccinated travelers. The US will recognize any vaccine cleared in the US or authorized by the World Health Organization and will accept people who mix doses so long as they have 2 shots of a 2-dose vaccine. Travelers vaccinated with 2 doses of Covaxin in India can also enter US after WHO-granted emergency use listing. People who have recovered from COVID and gotten just 1 dose of a 2-dose vaccine, a standard considered fully vaccinated in parts of Europe, are not eligible to enter. Airlines will be asked to verify testing and vaccination status and will match passengers' name and date of birth, said Cindy Friedman, who leads the Travelers Health Branch at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. There will be a limited number of humanitarian exemptions issued, such as for people needing to travel to the US for life-saving medical treatment. The CDC is still developing its policy on exemptions. Unvaccinated people with non-tourist visas will be eligible if they're coming from a country with a vaccination rate below 10%. They'll need a passport from that country, Friedman said, a hurdle that would impede unvaccinated people from non-exempt nations skirting US restrictions by transiting through an exempt one. The list of exempt nations will be updated every 3 months. Adults who meet the exemption and plan to stay in the US for at least 60 days must sign an attestation to get vaccinated in the US within that time period. Hope the information presented in the video is useful. US Immigration Channel will be releasing a video when additional information is available on any of these program or regulations. If you have not subscribed, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Do not forget to hit that notification bell. See you soon in